Let's just see if you clap when I'm finished. I'm always surprised by the power of the lectern. I need to get one for home. Love it, actually. Father's Day coming up soon. I've got four under 11 at home. My youngest is 3. Hence why I look a lot older than I am. And my wife said to me, "Oh, what do you want to do on Father's Day?" And I looked at her. Last year what she did is she booked me on the jet boat, Sydney Harbour. I live in the mountains, so we had to drive there, sitting on the jet boat, freezing cold. And when I got off, I was absolutely saturated. How was that? Oh, it was good, yeah. So she surprises me with these Father's Day outings. She asked me yesterday, "What do you want to do on Father's Day?" And I looked at her very sternly. And I said, "Absolutely nothing. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit at home and do nothing." So I'm a bit nervous because she didn't respond to that. I'm nervous. But anyway, my name's Brendan. Good evening, everyone. I'm a cultural representative, cultural educator for Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council. And our Aboriginal Land Councils, under Australia's Land Rights Act, we are the cultural authority. We are the guardians, custodians, caretakers of lands and waters within our boundaries. Every land council has their own boundaries. And we also are the voice of our community. And I'm here tonight to welcome you. Welcome you to once was the lands, traditional lands of the Gadigal. Now, welcome to country. It's a tradition based around protocols and having respect for each other. When you welcome strangers into your house, you all have an expectation. You expect them to respect your property and everything that's in your house. You welcome them in, you show them where they can sit, where the toilet is. Well, it depends on who's knocking. And you all have your sacred sites in your house. It's not an open house for strangers. There are places you will allow them to go. There are places you won't allow them to go. Now, these principles are the same with a traditional welcoming each other to country. When I'm welcomed onto my neighbour's country, and traditionally I'd never walk on my neighbour's country unless I was invited and welcomed. The only time I'd ever go on that country, unwelcomed, is if I was up to no good. This is the same at home, where we live. We don't go into our neighbour's house, uninvited, unwelcome. Some of you might. I don't know what type of relationship you have with your neighbours. I grew up with neighbours where I knew once the football went over the fence, that was it was gone. And little did she know she had a big pecan tree in the back. When she was out, I was straight up that tree, eating the pecans. I'd have to wait till night time to come down, sneak out. This is what our welcome to country is. When I'm welcomed onto my neighbour's country, I need to know what food's available on your country. It can take days and weeks to walk from one end of one's country to the other end. Our definition of the word country is not in reference to Australia. Within Australia, we have more Aboriginal nations than anywhere else in the world. And each Aboriginal nation, we refer to our homelands as country. So when I go home every year, I'm going back to country. So welcome to country is not a welcome to Australia, it's a welcome to the lands you gathered on. Welcome to traditionally onto my neighbour's country, I need to know what food is available. I need to know what your totems are, because we don't eat our totems. What's your meat totem? What's your marriage totem? What's your law totem? Where are your sacred sites I'm allowed to go and not allowed to go? Where are your sacred waters I'm allowed to drink from and not allowed to drink from? And where's your toilet? These are exactly the same principles as when you welcome strangers into your house. Exactly the same. This is what a welcome to country is. So in saying that, on the lands of the grass tree people, Gadigal. Gadi means grass tree, Gal means people. I don't recommend anyone eat the fish out of Sydney Harbour anymore. I've lived here my whole life. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Uncle Brendan, Karen. Beautiful welcome to country and that Yiriki performance. I hope you have a beautiful Father's Day, nowhere near the harbour, and you get that peace and quiet. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. So welcome everyone to the State Library. I'm your State Librarian, Caroline Butler-Bowden, and it gives me great honour to see you all here this evening. Those of you might know that we can trace the origins of this library back to 1826. And my colleagues, led by our Mitchell librarian Richard Neville, who's here tonight, have been poring over our collection to piece together the beginnings of this place, the planted seed that grew into the State Library that we have today. This year is our 199th birthday. We meet tonight in our auditorium to mark the New South Wales History Awards. I know the highlight of the year for the whole history profession. Above our heads is the Mitchell Reading Room, which every day is full of students and readers and researchers and budding historians and writers. And below our feet in the next wing is our library descends 7 stories and deep into the stacks where our collection lives and breathes. The stories of our past are here to be read and reread. History, of course, is in the bones of this place. It's in the architecture, the sandstone Mitchell building that you walked up the stairs tonight. It's in the millions of books beneath us. And it's within us, everyone in this room, carving out our own histories and our own stories. And of course, storytelling, history and record sharing dates far back beyond 199 years. First Nations communities were here long before the seeds of the State Library were first planted. And I take this moment to acknowledge elders past and present, and to thank my First Nations colleagues in particular, who work day in, day out at the State Library and across New South Wales communities every day. I began this morning at the opening of the new wonderful Gosford Library, and it was very moving. We heard a beautiful welcome to country, and he noted that it was the 2 librarians here, Mel and Ronald, who had helped with the dual naming conventions of all the meeting rooms in that new library. And I felt the tentacles of this library right across Gosford and right across the state. I also thank First Nations people here tonight with us, the writers, readers and historians. Tonight we celebrate and acknowledge the work of our writers and thinkers and all those who record history. I'm so glad that you're all here with us tonight, but I do need to call out a few people. I would be here all night if I named you all, but joining us tonight, of course, is our Minister for the Arts, the Honourable John Graham, and a bit more on him in a minute. We're joined by Elizabeth Mildwater, the Secretary of our department and a huge supporter of us at the library and all libraries across New South Wales. The Senior Judge of the History Awards, Professor Matthew Fitzpatrick, who you'll hear from soon, and of course all the judging panels. I can see Kerry Glasscock here, the head of Create New South Wales, who works with us on these prizes. Members of the Anzac Memorial who sponsor one of our prizes, thank you for your generous support of the Anzac Memorial Trustees Military History Prize. I can see Michael McDaniel, Chair of the Sydney Opera House Trust. Larissa Berrant, we're delighted you've joined us here tonight, the Chair of the National Library of Australia. And Kim McKay, my colleague and director of the Australian Museum. We're also joined by many members of our Library Council, an incredibly hard-working Library Council and foundation boards. Professor Jennifer Barrett, Jane Garling, Brooke Webb, Victoria Weeks, Graham Bradley and Christine Howard. Thank you for always turning up for this institution. And I'd also like to welcome the President of the History Council, Dr. Naomi Parry Duncan. The Library is really pleased to administer these state awards on behalf of the New South Wales Government. A lot of work goes into them, and I'd like to thank our senior judge, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and the whole judging panels for their work. I remember serving as a history awards judge all those years ago. I got an email from Richard Neville, and the excitement of being asked to be a judge on those prizes. And then the parcels started arriving. Box after box. They were all over my living room. But the joy of judging Australian History Prize and General History and then the Children's Prize. I opted for the Children's Prize at one time because I knew I couldn't fully commit to those much longer books and I could read them to my children. Anyway, I'd like to thank my colleagues here at the Library for your dedication and your expertise. It's now my very great pleasure to hand over to our Arts Minister, Minister John Graham. He shows up to support the arts every single day across the state, as well as transport and all those other portfolios he has. You'll see him often in the library and indeed across New South Wales doing work that really matters. But I know he loves coming to the library most. Welcome, Minister Graham.
Thanks so much, Caroline. And on behalf of the government, can I thank you and your team here at the Library for the incredible work you're doing right here in the State Library, but out right across the state of New South Wales. It's great to be here tonight with the history community in the State Library. This is one of the places in Sydney tonight where people are more passionate about footnotes than football. Although I do want to apologise to any of the football historians who are joining us here tonight. As we kick off the 2025 New South Wales History Awards, I'd really like to thank Uncle Brendan for that warm welcome to Gadigal land, and I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners. Of course, we should acknowledge that the long, rich Indigenous history in this state is the foundation of all the history in this state. I'd also like to welcome our special guests, State Librarian Carolyn Butler-Bowden, Secretary Elizabeth Mildwater, Carolyn McInnes, former Arts Minister Don Harwin, Kerry Glasscock, Dr Naomi Parry Duncan and Professor Matthew Fitzpatrick, Senior Judge of the New South Wales History Awards. And can you join me in thanking Matthew and the team for the hard work and leadership in leading the judging for this year's award. One of the great things about history is it helps us interpret current events in real time. Last Sunday in this city was the perfect illustration of exactly that. In our city, on a single sunny Sunday afternoon, just metres from each other, you had three events unfolding, each with a very deep history. You had 35,000 people running down Macquarie Street, right past this building, down to the Opera House, for the final leg of the Sydney Marathon. That event, named after a town on the other side of the planet, where in 500 years BC, a Greek soldier bolted 42 kilometres from Marathon to Athens to pass on a very important message during the war to the Persians. So while a modern marathon was taking place, a few hundred metres down the road, you also had an anti-immigration protest that involved protesters importing ideas from the darkest chapter in modern history, a part of the concerning rise in neo-Nazism across the globe. Then, in Hyde Park, another protest about the conflict in Gaza, a territory scarred by years and decades of recent violence in a region shaped by thousands of years of religious and territorial conflict. History was certainly casting a long shadow on that sunny Sunday afternoon right here in Sydney. And to me, that's recent passing proof that history is absolutely all around us. History tells us when we need to sit up, take notice and ask questions. History shows us the patterns to look out for. a guide to where human instincts might lead us. And ideally, that equates to wisdom as we navigate the challenges of our times. And they're very significant at this time. That's why these awards matter so much. They remind us that we need our historians for present-day guidance and for the hindsight and insight that will help generations to come. So tonight, congratulations again to the winners and everyone who's recognised tonight. Thank you to everyone who supported them. The parents, the siblings, the teachers, the schools, the history societies, the libraries and the publishers. Thank you to the entire history community. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Minister Graham. I would now like to call on our wonderful senior judge, Professor Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's a future fellow and professor of international history at Flinders University. His research is primarily on the German Empire, comparative imperialism, and the history of German political and cultural history. He's the author of 3 books, Liberal Imperialism in Germany, Purging the Empire, and the Kaiser and the Colonies. He's a past winner of many prizes and has twice been a Humboldt Fellow in Germany. Welcome and thank you so much for all the work that you've led.
Thank you very much, Dr. Butler-Bowden, Caroline, Minister Graham, for that warm introduction, and Uncle Brendan Kieran as well, for that wonderful welcome to country here on Gadigal country. As Caroline mentioned, I've come here this evening from Adelaide, unceded Kaurna country, and as a senior judge, I really wanted to be here because through this judging process, I, like the rest of the judges, have come to feel very close to the books that have been nominated, as well as to the many that we read, but which are not mentioned here tonight. And I want to pay brief tribute, if I may, to the historians and authors who entrusted their research to us and whose works may not end up with a medallion, but who, through their authorship and dissemination of their knowledge, have already made their own important singular contribution to our understanding of the past. The judging team would want me to say to all of the authors that we recognise and applaud the great value of your work. We've discussed it carefully in the spirit of great respect for the effort involved in bringing such works to fruition. Anyone who has written a book or produced a work of film or something of that nature knows that it involves prodigious labour, passion and single-minded perseverance to see your vision realised. In the works we judged this year, we saw all of this, and through that, the clear evidence of the vitality, diversity and acuity of this country's historians and history communicators. When it comes to exciting and innovative approaches to the past here in Australia, our cup runneth over. I'd also like to thank heartily the team of judges as well as the indefatigable Emma Walsh of the State Library, all of whom approached this task with enthusiasm, dedication and diligence, but also with good humour and extraordinary flexibility. Whether it was carving out space in their lounge rooms for the seemingly endless crates of books that came their way, or waking up for a judge's teleconference meeting at 6 a.m. on the other side of the world, having lugged long-listed books with them in a suitcase, the judges were keen and careful in their deliberations and passionate in their discussions. For me, as a senior judge, to be part of that passionate process of diving into a wealth of works of history with a group of talented and generous judges was a tremendous privilege, and I thank the library for entrusting me with that work. To turn to the prizes, I'd like to ask the Honourable John Graham, Minister for the Arts, to return to the stage, please, to present the awards. Now, as I present the category shortlist, I would appreciate if you could please hold your applause until the end of each category. The first award we will present this evening is the Anzac Memorial Trustees Military History Prize. This award is for a work of non-fiction on the involvement of Australians in wars, campaigns, battles and/or peacekeeping operations represented in the Anzac Memorial's Hall of Service and is valued at $10,000. Thank you to the trustees of the Anzac Memorial Building who sponsor and establish this award. The shortlist is Rock and Tempest, Surviving Cyclone Tracy and Its Aftermath by Patricia Collins, published by Hatchet Australia. Sister Viv by Grantley Keezer, published by ABC Books and HarperCollins Australia. Australia's Lost Heroes, Anzacs in the Russian Civil War, 1919 by Damien Wright, published by Big Sky Publishing. And the winner is Rock and Tempest by Patricia Collins, Hatchet Australia.
Rock and Tempest explores the Navy's role in one of Australia's most significant natural disasters, Cyclone Tracy.
Hello, everybody. I wrote Rock and Tempest because nobody else had written a book about the Navy's experience of Cyclone Tracy and the cleanup, and I thought the story needed to be told. The Navy didn't note on our service records that we had endured Tracy or that we worked on the cleanup afterwards. The Australian government brought out the National Emergency Medal in 2011, but it's only awarded to responders to national emergencies which occur after 2009. Appeals made to successive governments to have the eligibility for the award extended to Cyclone Tracy responders have failed. And time is running out for us. We're all in our 70s, 80s and even 90s, and our numbers are dwindling. We're tired. But when we were young and strong, we Navy women and men cleaned up Darwin after that city was destroyed by Cyclone Tracy. And in Rock and Tempest, we now at last have a record of our part in Australia's history. Sometimes it can sound a little bit twee to say that it was an honour and a privilege to serve our country, but it really was. And it is genuinely an honour and a privilege to receive this award. So thank you very much to everybody involved.
I'll now present the Young People's History Prize. Valued at $15,000, this prize is awarded for a work that increases the understanding and appreciation of history by children and or young adults. The shortlist is Our History, Bold Ben Hall by Sophie Mason, published by Walker Books. Our Flag, Our Story by Bernard Namak Jr., Thomas Mayo, Tori J. Morty, published by Magaba Books. Soaring with the Sugarbird Lady by Diane Wolfer, published by Fremantle Press. And the winner is Our History, Bold Ben Hall by Sophie Mason, Walker Books.
Our History takes young readers into the Australian gold rush to examine how history makes heroes.
Hello, everyone. It's just amazing to be here. The Bushranger stories were my first introduction to Australian history when I first came to Australia as a child, and I didn't speak any English at the time. I come from France originally and born in Indonesia as well. So, yes, we love the stories. My parents often bought books in the countries where they had lived to give us a sense of the history, and the Bushrangers was the one. My dad wasn't too thrilled with my mum buying a story about the Bushrangers because, of course they were criminals, but they really ignited my interest in Australian history, and that interest has stayed there for a long time, and particularly the Bushrangers whose stories are very complex and whose characters are very complex. And I've written about Ned Kelly before, of course, but I've also loved the story of Ben Hall. It has everything, and tragedy and greatness and missed opportunities and lots of things, and it just speaks to so many different areas of life. So I'm just so honoured and so thrilled and so astonished as well, that this book has found such accord with so many people, and especially with the judges. And I'd like so much to thank them, all the judging panel, just wonderful, and I just love their comments too about the books. Gave me a real thrill. I'd love to thank Walker Books. My publisher, Eve Tonelli, is here tonight, and the previous publisher, Claire Halifax, who remembered a conversation we had about Ben Hall many years ago, and who one day called me up and say, you know what, that story about Ben Hall, we'd like to do it now. And I'd like to thank my family, who have supported me all this time and encouraged me. My daughter Pippa, who's here, my brother Louis and sister-in-law Fran, who are here, my friends Lorena Carrington and Ursula Divasaski, who've also made the trip. So thank you all very much. Thank you to the judges. Thank you to the New South Wales government for actually sponsoring this award. And yeah, I'm just so delighted. I don't have any more words. Thank you.
I move now to the Digital History Prize, valued at $15,000, and it's awarded for an Australian historian's interpretation of an historical subject using non-print media. This category had two highly commended titles: History Lab Season 6, Unsettling Portraits, Episodes 1 and 2, by Catherine Franey, Kate Fulligar, Michael McDonnell and Helen Thomas from UTS Impact Studios, and Conspiracy, War on the Waterfront, by Claudia Taranto, Christy Melville, Geraldine Feller, Jeanette Francis and Michelle Rayner from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. The shortlist is Welcome to Babel by James Bradley and Graham Isaac, Nirvana Films and Mayfan Films. One Mind, One Heart by Larissa Barron, Michaela Persky and Claire Wright, Persky Productions. Kangaroo Dog by Jane Curtis, John Jacobs and Ross Blewett, Australian Broadcasting Corporation. And the winner is One Mind, One Heart by Larissa Barron, Michaela Persky and Claire Wright, Persky Productions.
One Mind, One Heart illuminates the enduring significance of the Yirrkala bark petitions.
Thank you so much. This is an absolute joy and a real treat. And I've got to start off, of course, by thanking Larissa Barrent, writer-director, for bringing me on to the project in the first place. That was pitched to her by Claire Wright, historian at a writers' festival, I think. At Mildura Writers' Festival. So it's been quite a long journey bringing this together. As I said, I want to give Larissa a huge thanks for bringing me on as the producer, and also a big thanks to her partner, Michael Lavach, who always supports everything that we do. And I'm just going to say a big thanks to all of our investors, Screen Australia, Screen New South Wales, NITV, Shark Island Foundation, Bright Moon Foundation, Spectrum Films. I think I may have missed someone, but hopefully I haven't. I want to say huge thanks to all of the creatives who worked on this project. It was quite big in its undertakings, a lot of archive, a lot of huge, big issues to tackle. So it took a bit of a team to make it all come together, which was fantastic. And of course, I want to say a huge thanks to the community up in Yirrkala who allowed us to tell this story. And we have a little something from Yanimal, who's one of the key people in the film. So I'm going to hand over to Blair.
Thanks, Michaela. Book Namari. I have a little message from Daruk from Northeast Arnhem Land, from Yanamul Munungur. She says, the documentary One Mind, One Heart captured everything, in my opinion, that needed to be told. When I first saw the documentary, I cried silent tears, thinking about my forefathers and the fight for our rights. I also thought about Dad, the last signatory till he passed last year, and that he lived to see the fourth bark petition return to Yirrkala in 2023, where it all happened. So big thanks to Larissa, Michaela, and the team A big thanks to all the people who was involved. And also a big thanks to you, Makap Mimari, that's me, and the lovely Davey family. Ma, thank you.
The New South Wales Community and Regional History Prize, valued at $15,000, is awarded for a major work of non-fiction that makes a significant contribution to understanding of any aspect of the history of New South Wales. The judges selected 3 highly commended titles in this category: Townsend of the Ranges by Peter Crowley, NLA Publishing; Salo Salo, The Auctioneer's Tale, William Inglis and Son Limited, by Andrew Lemon, published by William Inglis and Son Limited; Treasures of Old Jewish Sydney, The Story of a Visual Heritage, by Jana Wiedelik, Longville Media. The shortlist is Politics, Pride and Perversion, The Rise and Fall of Frank Arkell by Eric Eklund, ANU Press; Critical Care, Nurses on the Front Line of Australia's AIDS Crisis by Geraldine Feller, UNSW Press; Yurin Ma Place, Stories of a Darlinghurst Corner by Alana Piper, New South Wales Publishing. And the winner is Yurin Ma Place by Alana Piper, New South Publishing.
Yurin Ma Place follows the transformations of a corner in Darlinghurst throughout time.
Alana Piper can't join us tonight, but has shared this video.
Hello. I begin by acknowledging and paying my deepest respects to the first Australians for their ongoing custodianship of this beautiful sovereign land. My book was written on and about Gadigal country. The corner of land it explores, now known as Darlinghurst, has long been traversed by many peoples. I'm deeply grateful for the chance to weave together stories that reflect the diverse communities that call Darling Darlow home. That opportunity came from generous support from the Paul Ramsay Foundation. Their revitalisation of 262 Liverpool Street into a philanthropic hub with a mission to end cycles of disadvantage inspired the heart of this book. I'd also like to extend my deep thanks to Anna Clark and Tamsin Peach from the Australian Centre for Public History at UTS for their support in the conceptualisation of this book. I'm also immensely grateful for the patience, support and painstaking work of Elspeth Menzies, Sophia Orovex, Gabriella Stereo and others at New South. Thanks to them, this work is a visual delight. Finally, thank you to the judges and everyone behind the New South Wales History Awards. I'm honoured and deeply moved to be receiving the Community and Regional Histories Prize. In a time of global uncertainty, telling and sharing the stories and strength of local communities feels more important than ever. Thank you for celebrating that.
The General History Prize, valued at $15,000, is awarded for a major work of non-fiction on international history. The shortlist is Vector, A Surprising Story of Space, Time and Mathematical Transformation by Robin Arianrod, UNSW Press and University of Chicago Press. Piracy in the Making of the Spanish Pacific World by Christy Patricia Flannery, University of Pennsylvania Press. Paris in Ruins, Love, War and the Birth of Impressionism by Sebastian Smee, Text Publishing. And the winner is Vector by Robin Arianrod, UNSW Press, the University of Chicago Press.
Vector turns a history of science and mathematics into an intimate journey of human endeavour.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much to the New South Wales Government and the library and everyone who made this award possible, and I'm absolutely thrilled and humbled to be here. We're meeting on Gadigal land, and I live on Bunurong land in southern Victoria, so I want to pay my respects to all the traditional owners and to acknowledge the vast history that they've lived and curated. As for general history, I'm very grateful that this award category exists to support Australians writing about global themes. So I want to congratulate my fellow nominees and entrants and to thank the judges from the bottom of my heart for this incredible encouragement. For maths is widely seen as abstract and impenetrable, as if it had nothing to do with human creativity, struggle, collaboration, and with history, cultural and technological. Yet, by showing how the simpler foundational concepts underpinning today's complexities were created, history offers a way into understanding these foundations. And this, in turn, offers a feeling for what lies underneath the black boxes of everyday technology and the scientific breakthroughs in the headlines. Above all, by telling this story, this history, I wanted Vector to give a sense of how thrilling maths can be, especially in its uncanny role as a prescient language of nature. So heartfelt thanks to Harriet McInerney at New South Publishing and Joe Calamia at the University of Chicago Press for believing in this book and bringing it out into the world. And I want to thank my darling Morgan and my dear friends Leanne and Matt who are here with me tonight. And thank you all for this wonderful award. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
The final category for this evening is the Australian History Prize. It's valued at $15,000 and is awarded for a major work of non-fiction on Australian history. 2 titles were highly commended in this category. Rock and Tempest, Surviving Cyclone Tracy and Its Aftermath by Patricia Collins, published by Hachette Australia, and An Unlikely Survival, The Politics of Welfare in Australia Since 1950 by John Murphy, Melbourne University Publishing. The shortlist is Warra Warra Why by Darren Ricks and Craig Cormick, Scribner Australia, an imprint of Simon & Schuster Australia. Warrior Soldier Brigand, Institutional Abuse Within the Australian Defence Force by Ben Wadham and James Connor, Melbourne University Publishing. And Nakdarok, The Bark Petitions, How the People of Yirrkala Changed the Course of Australian Democracy by Claire Wright, Text Publishing. And the winner is Warra Warra Why by Darren Ricks and Craig Cormick, Scribner Australia, Simon & Schuster Australia.
Warra Warra Why is an account of what First Nations people saw and felt when James Cook navigated their shores.
Hello everyone, just like to thank the State Library of New South Wales and all the judges and everyone that was a part of putting this book together, especially the K's that me and Craig travelled to collect the stories of the First Nations people and traditional owners of South East Australia and how they saw the endeavour in Cookie come to our country. So, and just like to thank my wife, Rachel, and my family, and Craig's wife, Sharon, for making it possible for us to collaborate on this book. I'll hand it over to Craig.
Thank you, Darren. I should start by getting someone in the front row to take our picture so we can send it to our long-suffering wives.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll send it to us afterwards. All good. Yeah, I'd like to, we've followed the notes. We've got 60 minutes to speak. No, just kidding. So we are humbled and thankful for this award. It really belongs to the many, many people we interviewed for the book, about 70 people up and down the coast of Australia. It began with a fairly simple, if ambitious, idea. Just two blokes visit all the places up the east coast, from Victoria to Torres Strait Island, that Captain Cook had named or renamed, and get their original names back and get the stories of country and the stories of place. And as Darren was saying, as we travelled, people would say, yeah, we've got a story about Cook, we can tell you, come and we'll tell you about that. But what we really want to talk about is truth-telling. So they told us stories of dispossession, they told us stories of country, of culture, of dreaming stories. They told us stories of hard times, of people being taken away, of killings. They also told us stories of cultural repossession, getting language back, getting everything back. So it was quite moving. And for me, for a white fella, this book filled in that whole gap of history that I was never taught at school. You had all the journals, had all the rest of it. There was this big missing bit, so it was quite amazing to have that filled in. Mark Twain said that travel was an inoculation against ignorance. I think knowing your country's history is also an inoculation against ignorance. If you have a deeper understanding of the land and the people who lived there before European settlement, and have a deeper understanding of how they lived with the land and the terrible impacts of colonisation, you would see the complete gobsmacking dumbheadedness of marching up to an Indigenous cultural camp as the sons of migrants waving a British-derived flag chanting, "No more migrants." WTF. Oh, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So clearly many more of us need to learn the deeper histories of our country. So for me and Darren, this was an act of collaboration and reconciliation, both working to our strengths. I did the deep dives into the archives, and Darren respectfully and patiently listened to the stories he was told that were shared with him. And our goal was to put that all together into one book that acknowledged our shared and deeply braided history, and a book that, while deep in content, had to be an easy read, because we pitched it that everybody's slightly racist uncle could read it and not be offended and still walk away saying, wow, I really learned something I didn't know before. So a hint, early Christmas present and Father's Day coming up. If you've got one of those in your family, we'll happily sign the books for you out the front. And look, I have to say apologies to Claire, Ben and James. I always say everyone on the shortlist is a winner, just a raffle who gets it on the day. I hope we've achieved what we set out to do, and like all the winners and shortlistees this evening, we are all contributing to that never-ending struggle to inoculate against ignorance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you, Matthew, so much. Thank you to the Minister. That now concludes the awards ceremony. Thank you for joining us in the room tonight and all of those online. I thank our awesome Auslan interpreters, Demi and Danny. Thank you. And a huge congratulations to all those shortlisted and all those who won tonight. Thank you very much. I'd like to finally note the support of the New South Wales Government and the powerful speech made by the Minister about the value of history. The History Council of New South Wales and the trustees of the Anzac Memorial Building. The library shop, you might have seen, is selling copies of so many of the winning and shortlisted books in the foyer. Please purchase. That is the best way of supporting writers in this country, is to buy their books. So please leave with a book for your father or for somebody for Christmas or for yourself. Please enjoy the history party outside and the drinks and refreshments. I hope to see you back in the library soon. We have so much on at the moment. There are a number of fabulous exhibitions, Paper Universe, the Book as Art, the PIX exhibition as you walked through, The Australian Dream by Tim Ross. We're about to open Pamela Allen, The Curious World. If any of you have read those books to your children, they're an extraordinary extraordinary tales, and that exhibition opens in about 10 days' time. Finally, I invite the Minister for the Arts and all the winners back to the stage for an official group photograph, and please join me in a final round of applause for all the history writing in this great state. Thank you very much.